Hi everyone, I'm the Crazy Cat Lady and I read books, and this video is about me reading releases from 2024. I would like to point out I have tried to aim for recent releases, but some of them may be reprints in 2024 because they're relevant now, or they may have been released on Audible audio for 2024, and then obviously the books may be later. Recent releases basically in one way or another, but from 2024, because those are the ones obviously you want to have reviewed to see whether you want to buy them, right? So this is the introduction, because I forgot to do it when I started the video, so I have actually read all the books, and this is my introduction. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. I'm over halfway through the book now, Richard Osman, We Solve Murders, and I have some thoughts. It's not what I was hoping it would be, to be honest. I kind of feel the writing style's funky, especially at the start. It doesn't seem quite so bad further in. But anyway, I'm going to keep reading it, and hopefully I'll finish it today, and I'll let you know what I think overall. Just reading the acknowledgements, and I follow Richard on Instagram, and I do know he's got a cat called Liesel, and in the acknowledgements he has put, readers often ask me if any of my characters are based on people I know, and they very rarely are, but I can confirm that Trouble, the cat in the book, is based in very large part on my constant writing companion Liesel von Cat. Liesel actually managed to delete an entire paragraph of the story for the first time ever this year. Can't wait to see what she has in store next time. I love that. Okay, and now it's read on for a taster of... Oh no, read on for a taster of the first book in the Thursday Murder Club series. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. I thought that was the next one. Okay, so I finished the book, and I've had time to kind of put my thoughts together, and this is my thoughts on We Solve Murders. It's quite simple on the back, if you can read that. A new detective duo, a shocking series of murders. Welcome to a world of trouble. A world of trouble is... well, Trouble's the cat, so it could have two meanings there. So yeah, my first impressions of the book, I mean, obviously, I think I've said it before, but if you know the author Richard Osman, he writes the Thursday Murder Club books, and there's been about 4 of those. So it's the same author. It already says on the front a brand new series, so it looks like obviously there's going to be more than one book of this, and yeah, I mean, I think I've read this, but basically there's Steve Wheeler, who is the father-in-law, there's Amy Wheeler, who is the daughter-in-law. Steve is a retired police officer, and his partner Debbie has died recently, and his world's got quite a bit smaller now that it's just him by himself, and that the relationship with him and Amy is actually they're closer than him and his son, who's obviously married to Amy, and Amy is a well, I don't know if I'd call her a bodyguard, but she's protects obviously people for her company, and she's like a bit of a bodyguard slash security, has guns, etc., etc. So, you know, it's quite a dangerous job for her, and Steve and her tend to have regular phone conversations, contacts, because they're quite close. And so what happens is, within the first 3 chapters, there's a bit of a prologue with someone called Francois Loubert, and it starts off with him talking about how you need to hide as much information as you can to get away with criminal activities, basically. And then obviously it starts with, there's different parts in the book. There's part 1, which is, if I can find it, part 1, from the New Forest to South California, for example. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 different parts where it's from this place to this place. And obviously at the start, Amy is looking after celebrity famous writer Rosie, and Rosie's like an older lady, and she's got a big personality, and you can tell from the off she's going to be like the light relief in the book. And yeah, she's definitely one of my favourite characters in the actual book, apart from Trouble, obviously the cat, which is Steve's cat. That's my favourite character, obviously. So yeah, within the first 3 chapters, obviously it's set in the scene. Amy is looking after Rosie, and Rosie mentioned a Russian oligarch, or, you know, some dangerous Russian person, basically, and mentioned his name in one of her books, so he wants to kill her. And so that is why Amy is protecting Rosie. She's on her own private island, Rosie's island this is, and the only people there are her, the bodyguard Amy, and an ex-Navy SEAL chef. So that's how it starts off. Also, obviously, Steve is at his home, and his cat Trouble, as I've mentioned probably loads of times, but he's a retired police officer, but he's now a private investigator for like missing dogs or small petty crimes, stuff like that. And that's the start of the book. And then I kind of felt like, even from the start, to me, and I'd really love if anyone else who has read this book felt the same, or whether it's just me, I kind of felt like the writing was a bit clunky and a bit disjointed, especially at the start of the book. I didn't think it was like that towards the end of the book, but I did definitely feel at the start of the book it didn't quite flow naturally. About halfway through the book, I was still very interested in the story. I wanted to see whether it kind of, it sounds bad, whether it got any better. That's not quite what I mean. I wanted to see, obviously, where the book was going to go. Now, obviously, I finished it. I did like the book. It wasn't my favourite, I'll be perfectly honest. But I would also point out that I think when I read the first Thursday Murder Club book by the same author, I kind of had the same feeling, and maybe it's just the kind of the start of the series where it's just setting it up. It's obviously you don't know the characters as well, and sometimes it takes the first book to kind of get you to the starting point of a series, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? What I would say, what I liked is I did like the characters of Rosie. She was the best character apart from Trouble, the cat, obviously, and Steve. I really like Steve as a character as well, like the old retired police officer that's not as hard as he seems. He's obviously got a soft spot, and he misses his ex-partner. And it's very much the same sort of vibes as the Thursday Murder Club, the cozy murder mystery, because that is essentially what this book is. It's very similar to that with different characters. It is a good book. I did like reading the book. I read it really quickly, so that does say something. But yeah, I would say it's not my favourite, but obviously there is potential there, and depending on what the next story is. I did like the story, actually. I did like the fact, basically what happens is there are murders of social media influencers, and they get found with a lot of money at the time, and so that's the investigation of why these murders are happening, why these people are being chosen to be murdered, and that's kind of the story. But Amy is being framed, and Amy is also on the to die list. So they are running away from whoever is targeting her and trying to work out who is targeting her at the same time, but also murdering the social media influencers. I thought that was quite funny in regards to social media these days. I quite liked that. So yeah, what I would say is I did like the book. It wasn't my favourite. I rated it 3.25 stars, but I would go on to read the next one in the series. I'm very excited and have been for a long time to read this funny story by Emily Henry. So I've got a few chapters into this, and like the start of it. It's really good. I've read only one of Emily Henry's books before, and that was Beach Read, and I really liked that book. I know that Emily Henry is really well liked amongst other booktubers that I've seen anyway. So yeah, really looking forward to reading this one. But also, I have literally just started Matt Haig's The Life Impossible, and I have shown this before, the beautiful map of Ibiza there. I mean, I didn't realise it had that, I don't think, until I bought it. And I've been to Ibiza a few times, not recently, but I really enjoyed going there. Obviously it's been a while, and it's no doubt changed since I've been there. I believe it's about a young girl inheriting a place over in Ibiza after the loss of a friend, and I think there's kind of like a bit of magic interwoven into the story, so I'll be very interested to read this one. The only bad thing I have found, and it is on the first page, I did a review on All In, which is part of the Natural series, and one of the things I didn't like about it was it had in it, I thought it was too overly complicated. It's called the Fabroni sequence. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly. Quote here. First page. I am in a pattern, like a number pattern, a Fibonacci. No, that's probably not how you say it. A Fibonacci sequence. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 30, 21, etc. And like that sequence, things get less surprising the further I go on. But instead of realising the next number is found by adding the 2 before it, you realise that everything ahead of you has already been decided. The person's obviously trying to say that's what his life feels like. But as soon as I read that, I was like, oh no, because for me, that just overly complicated the book All In, and it doesn't bring back good memories. So anyway, just started that. Haven't long started Funny Story, started that earlier on today. Hi everyone, just a bit of a reading update. I'm under an electric blanket because I am cold. I've got the heating on. I feel cold a lot of the time, so but obviously, you know, winter's coming. Yeah, so at the moment, last time I saw you, it was a few days ago. I was beginning Funny Story and The Life Impossible. I have finished Funny Story, mainly because obviously it's on the Kindle. It's a lot easier to read on the Kindle. So I will do what my thoughts were on Funny Story. So I think I've showed this, but this is the front cover on the Kindle. Basically there's a man and a woman drinking. He's got some Crocs on, having a laugh, and obviously it's called Funny Story. Two total strangers, one thing in common. Now that's a funny story. That's obviously kind of the premise of the book, which is Daphne was engaged to Peter, and not very long before they're due to get married, on his stag night, which he has before Daphne has her hen do, he realises that he's in love with Petra, his best friend, and basically kicks Daphne out of his house. Miles and Daphne get in contact with each other, and she ends up rooming with him because obviously he's got a spare room, and Petra's moved out to go with Peter, Daphne's ex. So that's basically it. But then obviously they go on to decide that, well, why not pretend that they're going out together, they're together now, kind of just to mess with their exes as a bit of a joke. Within the first 3 chapters, it's kind of essentially what I've just said that the book is about, which is they've obviously discovered that their ex-partners are in love with each other. The partners have now moved in together and are going to get married very, very quickly. So that they're both in a bit of shock. They're obviously both quite sad about the situation. They move in together. They're quite opposites. Daphne's a book lover. She's a librarian, and she's quite introverted, whereas Miles is many things, but he's a bartender, and he's quite extroverted, and he's quite charismatic. So yeah, they're kind of 2 opposites. So the wrap up of the book basically is, did I like the book? Yes, I did like the book, and it's one of those books you just can't help smiling as you're reading it, because it's just a lovely story. And I don't like to say that because obviously it kind of gives the impression it's like, oh, all kind of sweetness and light and a bit too sickly sweet. It's not like that. It's the interactions between Miles and Daphne are, you know, decent human beings as opposed to toxic relationships between even, you know, friends or romantic wise. But they're both nice people, and you can tell that within the writing. The writing of Emily Henry is amazing. She's a top tier writer, and I know so many other booktubers have praised her and given her 4/5 stars for her books, and I know why. It's because she's a really good storyteller, but it's not only that, her writing is kind of like almost poetic, and I don't mean that in a pretentious way. I mean that in a kind of artistic writing flows. It's very imaginative, and when you're reading it, you imagine it too. Obviously, the themes of the book are kind of getting over your exes, possibly, moving on from relationships, possible romance, but it's not just that. There are other themes in it as well. You know, it's got other family members, it's got friendship in it, and it's, without giving obviously too much away, it's kind of, with the 2 main characters, it's because they are quite opposites, how they kind of change each other as well. And I don't mean in a massive, oh, you've altered my life kind of way, but in a, you know, Miles is quite extroverted and Daphne is quite introverted, and they both kind of help each other be a bit more like each other. You know, as in kind of all good relationships, and again, even just talk about friendship relationships, you can kind of help see each other's perhaps weaknesses or positive traits and kind of take them on yourself, or realise you could do things a better way. And yeah, so the writing's brilliant, the characters I really liked, but I do have to say I think Emily did Miles a bit dirty in, maybe it's just me, the way she's described him is not what I see as leading man material. There are times she calls him scrubby, wolfish, he wears socks, which I think most people find a turn off. I think that's quite renowned for that. But also at one point, and I apologise to Macaulay Culkin for this, but she describes him as Macaulay Culkin with a beard, and I can imagine that's not to everyone's tastes. So yeah, you can't, well, to me I was a bit, not put off's not the right word, but it's not someone I would immediately go, oh, he sounds nice, nice to look at. So yeah, I think maybe, obviously looks aren't everything, we know that, but it kind of wasn't how I imagined he would look, if you know what I mean, within the book. So so there's that. I understood Daphne, because I feel like I've got a lot of similar traits to Daphne, which is I'm quite introverted. She isn't great with small talk. I'm not. And other things amongst that. She also had a bit more depth to her with, you know, some issues with her family and how she feels about her mum and stuff like that. I feel like she was a really great character. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the quotes, because I think, like I said, her writing, Emily's writing, is really, really good. This is from Daphne's point of view. I'd thought we were building something permanent together. Now I realised I'd just been slotting myself into his life, leaving me without my own. And then I get this quote. Like I said, I kind of feel like I have quite a bit of Daphne in me. So she's put, it's funny. As a kid, I had no idea how to interact with other kids. I felt most at home with Mum and her friends. But as an adult, I find kids so much easier to understand. They say how they feel and they show it too. There are fewer ulterior motives and unwritten rules. Silences aren't unbearably awkward, and abrupt segues to different subjects are the norm. If you want to be friends with someone, you just ask, and if they don't want to, they'll probably tell you. Yeah, again, I've actually clipped a lot of the book, and I don't like to do too many quotes, because I do think it kind of ruins the book for when you go to read it yourself. And also I don't like to do quotes from after a certain point in the book as well, because I think it kind of gives stuff away. So basically that is what I thought of Funny Story. My rating of it is 4.75. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 is I'm not sure I'd go back to read the book. It was a really great story. Like I said, I was literally just smiling as I was reading it, and it was brilliant. But I don't know if I would go back and reread it, as in, do I think it's left a really good lasting impression with me? Not other than, you know, the writing's really great, and I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the characters, but it's not enough for me to reread it. But obviously, please bear in mind 4.75 is almost a 5, so I would definitely recommend, if that's your kind of genre of book, I think you would really enjoy it, and I think you'd really enjoy the writing of Emily Henry. So that is the update of Funny Story, and I'm past halfway mark of The Life Impossible by Matt Haig, and so I'll just give you a quick update. Can you see my tabs? I don't like writing in books. That's I don't know, it feels a bit like sacrilege to me. I have a big respect for books, obviously love books, have always loved reading books, and anyway, I'm getting off topic. So I am over halfway past the book, and I will give you a quick update of what I thought as I was reading it. The start of Life Impossible, I didn't really feel grabbed me. What I said at the start, there was there was a mention of the, and I'm not going to say it right, Fibonacci sequence of the maths, and I'd read that with a previous book, so it kind of put me off a little bit, I'll be perfectly honest. But the funny thing is, when I picked it back up again, I think it was possibly yesterday, I started reading this again, and it's funny how quickly my attitude changed, because I'd gone, you know, I hadn't got very far with it. It's not kind of told in chapters. It starts off with an ex-student called Morris is writing to the main protagonist, I've forgotten her name already, Grace, the main protagonist, Grace, who's something like a 72-year-old lady who's just recently lost her husband, and that's kind of Grace's writing back to him, and that is the story she's writing back to him about what's happened. And like I said, initially I'd only read a few pages and I wasn't that into it. I felt like it didn't grab me. I was a bit like, not sure where this is going to go and whether I'm going to like it, but it really quickly changed. I would say within the first 50, maybe 60 pages, I was like, I actually really like this book, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's happened. And I think I have mentioned at the start, there is some magical element within the book, and that is obvious within the pages, and if you don't like that sort of thing, then I don't think you'll get on with that. There's also quite a lot of mentions of maths. She is an ex-math teacher, and it's also, she is the type of person, she's obviously quite a logical person, and she sees life that way, as in 1 + 1 is 2, for example. But her faith, her belief in that thinking of the world is obviously tested. She inherits a small house in Ibiza, and she decides to go. She's, like I said, she's not long lost her husband, and she kind of feels like, why not? And she inherits it from a lady that she didn't really know, that she used to work with, and one day, one Christmas day, her friend was going to be alone for Christmas, so Gracie invites her around for Christmas. They have a nice time together, and that was essentially all the time they spent together. When she gets there, her friend Christina has left her a list of stuff she suggests that she does while she's in Ibiza, so Grace does do some of those. But also there is a question on Christina's death, as in they don't quite know if she's dead or how she died. They haven't found a body, so it's kind of a bit of a mystery as well in regards to that. And yeah, like I said, I'm actually really enjoying the book, really enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to finding out what happens. So what I will do is I'll just read some of the quotes. Just please bear in mind, there is a topic about grief and death, and if you might find that upsetting, maybe you might not want to read this book. So anyway, let me do some quotes. There are two kinds of ghosts that torment you when a young person dies. The ghost of who they were and the ghost of who they could have been. His death created a hole right through me that could never be filled. I can see, I'm getting emotional myself now. Yeah. For years, getting through a day was an Olympic event. There was a continual sense of terror at the knowledge that life dared exist without him. It was hard not to be furious, most of all with myself. Yeah, I really think it hits home if you have ever lost someone that you love. There are so many quotes. Sorry. There are so many quotes, and there's so many lovely things that Matt has written. Again, about grieving. When you grieve someone, you see their message in everything. Even in the sunlight on a blade of grass, the whole world becomes their translator. Yeah, again, if you've ever lost someone that you love in real life, I feel like that's so true. You kind of, whether you believe it or not, you try and see messages in kind of everyday things. A few years before I cut my ring finger whilst chopping an onion. The bleeding hadn't stopped, so I had to go to the hospital to get the tip cauterised. They burnt the blood vessels to stop the bleeding, and now I couldn't feel anything on the tip of my finger. So I felt like that is what happened to me. The grief and guilt and life had cauterised me, and there is nothing new to experience, just a wound to look at and keep prodding for a sign of feeling. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this book. Like I said, if its theme of kind of grief might trigger you, I'm someone who actually quite likes to read about stuff like that, even though I find it upsetting. That's what good writing does. If it's about a topic like grief, you know, it should make you upset, it should make you cry, whether or not you have obviously lost someone in your own life or not. The fact is, good writing can make you feel that, and this is such good writing, and like you can tell, I've got upset reading it. It's just told wonderfully. I was just, before I started this video, I was just thinking, what would I say about this book so far? And bear in mind, I'm halfway through the book. It could all go wrong from this point. But my first thought was, what would I say? This book is wonderful. And that was my thought. So I'm going to carry on reading for a bit. Just interrupting, because I've just had a thought that I thought earlier, and I'll probably forget. And maybe when I come to edit the video, I'll remember and I will look. But within the book, which I want to think is true, obviously the author has mentioned that Ibiza, the island, is there are no fearsome or deadly animals, no poisonous plants, no native snakes. God had made it a sanctuary of peace, a protected place. And I'm very interested whether that's true, and I want to look up whether that's true, and I will put a message on the video whether that's true. Because I did wonder, at the start, why Ibiza? Obviously, Ibiza is more known these days as kind of like a bit of a party place for youngsters. So I was very interested why Ibiza. I thought it was perhaps an odd choice, but if that's the case, if that's the truth, then that makes sense for this book. So anyway, brief interlude. Go back to read. Hi everyone, just a quick reading update. I did actually manage to finish Matt Haig's The Life Impossible yesterday. I did take a while to think about my overall feelings of the book. Goodbye, see you later. Obviously didn't want to be in the shot. Okay, I think it's a wonderful book. I really do. It has made me feel very emotional reading it. In a good way. if you can be emotional in a good way, this book made me feel things. Like I said, it's probably not for you if you think grief, etc. is not something you can handle at the moment. But yeah, the writing is wonderful. The author has done a really brilliant job on this book, and this, in my opinion, is better than The Midnight Library, which I really liked as well. But I think he's surpassed himself with this book. Basically, Grace is a 72-year-old lady. Her husband hasn't long died, Carl, and she has other issues, basically, and she inherits a house in Ibiza, and from someone she vaguely knew, who she was kind to once. And the lady leaves her this house in Ibiza, and Grace decides, why not go? I've got nothing holding me here in my current life, and why not, even if it's kind of just for a holiday. So she goes, and Christina, her previous friend, has left her a list of things to do while she's there. Through that she meets Alberto, who used to know Christina as well. There is a bit of a mystery to Christina, but she is missing, presumed dead, basically, and that's how Grace inherits the house. I mean, Grace is quite... She keeps saying a word and I can't think of the word, and I'll try and put it up here. But basically it means she doesn't really feel anything within the world. She's so weighed down with grief that she doesn't really feel anything anymore. No highs, no lows, nothing. And I think, again, if you have experienced that in your own life, you understand that. But it's not obviously just about Grace. It's about Ibiza, the island, which like I said, I have been to, and haven't been for a while. But it's kind of like a love story to Ibiza from the author. And if you read the acknowledgements, he obviously says that in there. And the rest of the characters, Alberto and his daughter Marta, they're both interesting characters as well. And Grace obviously starts to get some feeling back in her life, which is essentially the book, but it's a lot more than that. And I don't want to give anything away. I would just suggest you read it. There is one thing, the themes of the book, I would say, if you don't like kind of like the supernatural, the paranormal aspects within a book, then you won't particularly like this book. I mean, I wouldn't say it's definitely not one of my go-tos within books, definitely not. But despite having that in this book, like I said, I mean, I think this is a wonderful book, and I would recommend, if you like the sound of it, that you read this book. I think you would really enjoy it. Yeah, so basically my thoughts on the book are, you know, when a book just gives you a feeling of wanting to kind of hug it, hold it close to you, because it really makes you feel a certain way. This is that book for me. It made me feel, like I said, I mean, I'm getting emotional talking about it, it's crazy. It really made a lasting impression on me. There's a lot about it I liked. That's not to say there weren't little bits about the book that, well, not like is a strong word, but that I thought weren't necessary to the story. I did go really back and forth with this, because a lot of the time within this book I was like, it's easily a 5-star, if not more. And when I thought of it, I thought there's just those couple of little things I would have perhaps changed, and then it would have been a 5-star for me. So I'm going to give it a 4.75, which is so agonisingly close to a 5-star. Yeah, I think that's a fair rating for this book. I will keep this book, and like I said, I'm trying not to keep any books at the moment unless they are really good books, and I think I might read them again, and I think I might read this again. I'm also very tempted to get it on Audible, because I think it might be very good on Audible too. So that's my thoughts on The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. I would really recommend you go out and read this if you like the sound of it. Now, I have also started, I can't get it, All the Colours of the Dark. All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. I'm on chapter 13 at the moment, which is only 6%. It's much better, no offence, not on the Kindle, because there's loads of beautiful colours, which is what attracted me to that initially. I've only got it on the Kindle, obviously that's why I'm reading it on the Kindle, but I'll try and put a image up here. Funnily enough, I obviously got it when it was 99p on the Kindle, and I didn't read it straight away. I haven't had it long though, to be fair, but I completely forgot what the book was about. I knew it was kind of like a mystery thriller. I've read up to chapter 13. Like, my first impressions of it are, it hasn't grabbed me. I could give or take it at this moment in time. I'm interested, that's for sure. I'm not saying I'm not interested in what's happened. At the moment, it appears that Patch has at least been hurt, at minimum, and the outcome of that. So what happened was, Patch was waiting for Saint, his girlfriend, to go to school. Something had happened and Saint was late, and Patch decided to just kind of meander on his own. He went into the woods and he saw one of his other school friends, a girl, being attacked by, we assume, a male, all covered up. Patch manages to distract the attacker, and he tells the girl to run away, which she does. And then Patch brings out a knife that he had, and it appears he's been stabbed. So that's kind of where we are, and the outcome of that, because obviously he's a missing person. They've found blood, he's a missing person at this moment in time. That's as far as I've got. I can't tell you any more, but that's just obviously a quick update on that one. I have also just started Such Charming Liars today by Karen M. McManus. She was the author who wrote One of Us is Lying and that series, which I really enjoyed. I have seen the series on Netflix. I preferred the book, I'll be honest. Yeah, so I read her series, really enjoyed it, and when I saw this book, and look at the pretty pink pages. I was drawn to it. Pink as well here. Now, I have only got to chapter 5 so far. I've only started it this morning. And so far, I'm interested in the story. Kat and someone called Jem, who is a friend of her mother, start off in a high-end jewellery, well, jewellers, I suppose. They start off there, and they've got obviously a bit of a con on where they try on the expensive jewellery, and obviously they replace the proper jewel with a counterfeit one, a fake one. And that is the first kind of con that Kat has been involved in, because her mum doesn't want her to be involved in that, funnily enough. And when her mum finds out that she wants out, she doesn't want to be in the con life anymore. You know, that was the last straw for her. She doesn't want her daughter involved. So her friend Jem agrees to this on the proviso that Lisa, I think the mum's name is, as long as she does one last job for Jem. So that's where we are with Kat. And then on the other side of the coin is Liam and his dad Luke. Luke is a con artist, a bit of a scammer in regards to, it sounds like, women and romance. And Liam's only just moved in with his dad because his mother's not long passed away. And he's not exactly happy about it, and he's not happy to be in the con world either. So that's where I am. Like I said, I am interested in the story. I wouldn't say it's 100% grabbed me. Obviously, the people haven't come across as exactly likeable characters, but, you know, these type of characters, they wouldn't be, would they? They're not good people as such. So, but yeah, I am interested in the story, and I'll be interested the more I read, and yeah, so that's where I am at the moment. So that's kind of obviously the premise of the book. They go to this rich compound, family's massive house, mansion, grounds, and they're trying to pull off a heist, essentially. So I really enjoyed reading the book. I really like Karen's writing. However, for me, this book has all the elements that you would want in, you know, a book. It's got obviously the conning, you've got, there is a very small subplot of romance. I liked the characters you're meant to like, obviously. I actually thought the best character wasn't one of the main characters. For me personally, I just thought he was Augustus. He was one of the best characters for me. It has all the elements that you would want one within a book of this kind of genre, and I like her writing, but for me it fell really flat. I was expecting so much more. I kind of felt like I didn't feel like there were high stakes. That's not to say there isn't, but I didn't feel it. I wasn't interested whether they pulled off the job or not. I didn't kind of feel like I was that interested at all. And I don't like saying that, because the stupid thing is, like I said, everything is there. Everything that you would want is there, but to me it just didn't grab me. I wasn't, oh, what's going to happen next, you know? I wasn't thrilled by it. I guess I was kind of feeling like I wanted more of an Ocean's 11 feel, but to me it didn't feel like that. It kind of felt a bit boring. I kind of feel like, well, not much happens. It's hard. I don't know how to word it, because stuff happens. Stuff happens, like the heist happens, sort of. They're there to do the heist, and it's not like they don't do anything, but it didn't have that thrill. Oh, you've got to go and do this, and this is what happens, and you've got to avoid the security and stuff like that. To me, it didn't feel like that. It just kind of like, oh, we're here and this is what we're going to do, and do you know what I mean? It was very flat. There was no kind of, I didn't feel the highs and the lows. Let's have a look at what some of the quotes I've bookmarked. Most of the world's problem could be solved if everyone was consistently kind and supportive to one another, as girls are in the ladies' room. I just thought that was quite funny, and true to a degree. And the other one, which I think is a good quote, because the thing about breaking points is you don't realise you've hit yours until you're already well past it. I liked that. I think that's very relevant. Especially in this day and age, with obviously people more aware of mental health issues, etc. So anyway, yeah, my roundup of this was really looking forward to reading it. It had all the elements, but it fell flat for me. I still really enjoy her writing. I think it was written, really well. It's just I didn't feel the thrilling element of the book, and unfortunately that is kind of what this kind of book genre needs. I rated it a 3.25. It's still a good still a good rating. It's just I feel like with some tweaks it could have been really good, and unfortunately for me it wasn't. Okay, so hopefully that is everything that's been cut off from my filming. I obviously went on to then say the next books that I was reading, which were, I'm trying to remember now, Date with Destiny by Lucy Vine, and hopefully I've got all the information. Hi everyone, just a quick reading update to where I am. I think last time I filmed I was trying to read All the Colours of the Dark and Date with Destiny. So I have managed to finish both of those, so I'll do All the Colours of the Dark first, because that's when I started first. I think it's important probably to add to the fact that although Patch was abducted, I didn't mention before that he was actually found. I think it's important to say that because a lot of the story is actually about Patch's life after that, so it's kind of like, if I don't mention that, there's not much I can say about the story. So basically Patch gets abducted whilst he's trying to save another girl from his school called Misty in the woods. There is a man who's attacking her. Patch happens to come across this altercation and he saves her. He tells Misty to run, she does, and then he disappears, is abducted for however long he's missing. So he is found, and like I said, that is sort of the start of the story, but there's a long kind of run up to it. There's a long run up to him kind of being found, if that makes sense. So after Patch is found, obviously his life has been changed, and he met a girl whilst he was abducted in the same place, and her name is Grace, and Grace obviously kind of helps him stay sane, I guess, being they're kept in the dark, they kind of only have each other, and she's very much a steadying presence on him to keep him like I said, to keep him sane within this situation. And she helps him by asking him to paint pictures of how he sees things, etc, etc. Now obviously Patch is found eventually, and he goes on to want to know where Grace is, because Grace was not found when he was found, and he starts painting pictures of her, stuff she's spoken about whilst they were together in the dark, and that is kind of
what I would say the start of the story, so I don't think that's giving too much away there. The wrap up of what I think about the book. I was so frustrated with this book, and I'll tell you for why. This was a really good book, but oh my god, it was so long. It was so long. It's almost, I think, 600 pages, and it did not need to be 600 pages. You could have easily lost 150 pages just by kind of editing it down. Cut it down, and the pace was better, quicker, then this book would have been amazing. It would have been really good. And that obviously has to reflect on my rating of the book, because I did not enjoy it, not because of the story's good, but because of the pacing of the book. There is so much other stuff written about, and I don't have a problem with that, because there is kind of like, it's not just like a thriller mystery story, it's kind of like a coming of age story, and I do think some of the information is really good, obviously within their lives, and Patch, Saint's lives, also Misty is in the book quite a bit as well, and I do think they're all really good characters and I do like them, but you really could have cut down so much irrelevant information that isn't important to the story. And I do mention the fact it's not just a thriller, etc., and it's a coming of age story, just to kind of clarify, if you're going into this as just a thriller, you'd be very disappointed, I think, because one, it's so long. Thrillers don't need to be that long, but obviously with the coming of age story and other elements of the book, I understand why it needs to be a bit longer, but it does not need to be that long, and I was really frustrated with that. So anyway, that's the bad point about the book. Also, if you don't like swear words, you probably won't like this book. The C word is mentioned quite a bit from memory. So yeah, if you're bothered by that, you might want to steer away from the book. But the good things about it, like I said, I do really like the characters. I like the painting aspect when that's mentioned. I like the fact it's also a coming of age story. There's a few quotes I just quite liked, so I'll say them to you. I thought this one was quite funny. Sometimes I don't even want to go back home. Why not? She said. People say I'm a thief. Why? Because I steal things. I just thought that was quite funny. Little quote. Next one. The bad are the few, but often they shout louder than the many. Don't mistake silence for weakness. There are more. Like I said, I did like the book. It's just, unfortunately, I do think it was such a mistake to have it such a long book, because it impacted on the pacing, it impacted on the thrilling aspect of the story. It just felt like, it felt boring, I'll be honest. Like I said, it's kind of a bit pro-con. I liked the story, I did like the story, but it was so long that I was bored, because it's kind of like, I just want to get to the end now, because like I said, to even get to 50%, God, it took me days. And like, you know, some books can get away with the length, because you feel like the rest of the information is relevant, but I kind of feel like if they'd have only cut it down, like I said, maybe 100, 150 pages, it would have been a completely different book, and it would have been such a better story. The story would have benefited by actually having less information in it. And yeah, so that's kind of like my summing up of my thoughts of All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. I think I rated it a 3.25. Yeah, for all the reasons I've just said. It had so much potential because of the story, let down with the length and therefore the pacing of the story. I was also reading Date with Destiny by Lucy Vine. Have finished this one. Ginny has had 6 predictions in her life when she's going to be 32, and she's now 32, and some of the predictions start coming true. The problem is one of them is she's going to meet her soulmate, and she's actually due to be married in a month. I really like the premise of this book. That's what drew me to the book. I've read a book of hers before and I didn't like it. Now, when I first started, the first chapter for me, they're at a hen do, and there was something about it that rubbed me up the wrong way, so I was a bit like, oh no, I'm not going to like this. This is like her other book that I read that I didn't particularly like. It was, obviously they're on a hen do, but they were loud, they were leery, it was a bit silly, but it was just that chapter, and it does outline obviously the 6 predictions. So yeah, so that's the start. You kind of get to know Ginny, who works in a family owned jewellers, which I quite like that aspect, and obviously so she's around kind of like weddings and engagements, etc. all the time, but her own relationship is actually falling apart, and her fiance, hubby-to-be, actually walks out on her, and she doesn't realise because he doesn't tell her, which is nice. Yeah, so that's kind of like the start of the story, and then obviously whether these predictions are going to come true, and I guess whether these things, whether she thinks that these predictions are real things in her life, like whether you believe psychics are true or not, I suppose. Which for reference I don't, but I know other people do, and I thought it was, like I said, quite an interesting premise to the book. I did enjoy this book, but there were some issues for me with the book. Like I said, I liked the idea of the book. I liked the plot line of the book. Some of the things I didn't like about it, I found some of the characters were, and it states it in the book, walkovers basically. Obviously Ginny, she's the walkover, one of the walkovers I would say, and she is such a walkover, she won't even tell her mum that she doesn't want something for her wedding. She doesn't tell her best friend not to propose to the person she wants to propose to in the way she thinks she would prefer, and it's just like, really? I kind of feel like that was quite contrived, and I didn't believe it, essentially. So it kind of, I didn't really feel like she was a real character to me. There was another thing that irritated me personally. It is LGBTQ, etc. friendly. There are characters of that in there, and that's not my issue. But my issue is the language written, and I'm not getting into a debate about it, but I'm saying from a person who loves the English language, there was a part within the book where obviously they have amended language that, first of all, when I read it, I was confused. I do think this is the first time I've read it in a book, and maybe more books will be doing this, and maybe the English language will change. But to me, I'm a hardcore English language person. I read a lot of books, and that just really irritated me, changing the language. Yeah, so I didn't like that. That really annoyed me. What else was there? Oh no, this is another thing that annoys me, and I've noticed this in another book I read recently as well. And you'll probably think I'm an old fuddy-duddy here, and hey, maybe I am. I've said she's a walkover, and one of the reasons she is a walkover is like the taking of substances, let's say. They all decide to take some substances, and it was just kind of like no one wanted to say no. It's like, what, no one has the bravery or the courage to say they don't want to do that. I didn't like that part in it either. Obviously some of them wanted to do it, but it was just the whole, oh, no one says, oh no, I don't want to do that. within the book, not just about that issue in the plot. But I don't know, I don't really like characters that are complete walkovers. And going on to the next bit I didn't like about the book, Ginny, who, like I said, doesn't have a backbone, essentially. She doesn't say no to anyone, and she lets everyone just walk all over her. Towards the end, it's a very quick, oh, she gets so angry, and she has a word with one of the people that, you know, quite easily walks all over her, because she lets her, and then everything's okay. You know, that person, or, you know, she's finding it hard, but she's doing her best. No, I'm sorry, but that is not the character. The character is she walks all over people, and she, Ginny, the main character, allows people to walk all over her. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe the whole big transformation. So yeah, essentially, this could have been a really good book. It wasn't. I did enjoy it. But there were too many things I didn't like about it to make me recommend it 100%. I do think a lot of people will like this book, but I rated it a 2.5, and yeah, that's my personal opinion on the book. Okay. So now I have started on the Kindle, but I do have it on the book. My battery is running out, so I'm going to do this really quickly. The Paradise Problem, Christina Lauren. I want to say about a third into it. I'm liking it. So I'll do a quick wrap up next time I film, once I've actually got some battery. But physically, there was a book I said I was probably not going to read this time around, because I thought it was too similar to Such Charming Liars. I'm not saying the same, but I'm saying it was due to, like, murder, inheritance, blah blah blah. And that was Bella Mackey's What a Way to Go. I'll probably read that on, I think I'm going to do another 2004 recent releases that I'm reading, so that's going to be one of the first ones I read, because I do want to read it. But as it is completely different to what I've read so far, David Nichols, You Are Here. I have read at least a couple of his books. One Day and Us. Really liked both of them. I think I gave Us a really high mark, maybe 4.75, 4.5, I can't quite remember. And One Day I read a long time ago, but I really enjoyed it, and I've really enjoyed the film and the series, the most recent series, which I think I preferred because it's been a long time since I've read the book. But anyway, so that is the two books I'm reading at the moment. And I think this will probably be my last book that I'm reading for this video. Hi everyone, just a quick reading update. I have finished The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, and yeah, so here's my review of it. It's essentially, it does say in the book, she feels a bit like, I can't remember the name, she feels a bit like the lady in Pretty Woman. It does obviously kind of, sort of, follow that sort of trope where basically Anna, back in the day, she married West. He married her because he needed to get free student housing at the time, because his family had cut him off and he obviously couldn't afford to stay nearby otherwise. And she basically just has no money, so she did it again to save money. Yeah, so they married, I think it's sort of like 4 years ago. And what happens is he comes back into her life and says, I need you to help me again. And he explains to her that they need to be married for 5 years. Can you hear that? They need to be married for 5 years for him to get his inheritance. The problem is, she didn't realise they were still married. So luckily enough, she hasn't obviously got married again or anything like that. But he needs... His family obviously think he's been married for these years to Anna. They've never met. They don't have a close relationship. He doesn't really spend much time with his family and always basically puts them off when they ask to meet Anna, but obviously he's shown pictures of her to them, and this time he can't really get away with it because his little sister is getting married and they insist that Anna comes to the wedding. So he offers her money to come to his little sister's wedding. The wedding is on a tropical, lovely paradise island, and obviously he offers to pay for her to go. Her dad is not very well and the medical bills are piling up, so it's a no-brainer really. They've got to pretend to obviously be in a relationship, and so that's kind of the start of the story, the premise of the story. Yeah, I really liked the story. I liked the writing of it. I liked the characters of Anna and West, or Liam is his proper name. At the start, Anna is very much painted as a bit of a ladette. She's stoned, for example, when Liam meets back up with her. She's a bit of a struggling artist. She's trying to get into, she's a painter. She wants to get into the art scene. And yeah, she's broke, essentially. Whereas Liam is obviously from a very rich family. He's from I think it's the 6th biggest supermarket store or something in America. So they're incredibly rich, and with that comes with the expectations of how people behave when you are in one of these families that are extremely rich. So it's kind of, yeah, like I said, it's very much she's pretending to be one of those rich people to fit in with the family, where she's not really. She's more of a ladette. The good things about it are, I liked the characters. I liked Anna. I liked Liam. I kind of liked the message that, well, I won't spoil it because I think it gives a lot away of the story, but yeah, I like their relationship. I think it's a very sweet relationship, and they just obviously get on in the book. The bad parts in the book, let me think, are Anna calls his male appendage God damn, and it's mentioned quite a few times, and for me that's like really icky, and I know it's just something little, but it just seems like really childish. It's like, I'm not saying the proper word, but you could call it something else. I don't know, it really irked me personally. And there's kind of like a lot of talk of, if you don't like spiciness, this has quite a few scenes like that in there, so yeah, just be pre-warned. And what else? I think, bearing in mind Anna is in the real world as opposed to the rich can buy anything world, I think she's quite naive in some of the things that she expects of Liam. I won't say any more than that. That's not to say I don't believe, I mean, she's got really good morals, and I like that for her character, but I just think that it doesn't really fit with her character as someone who is so broke to have such strong morals. That sounds bad, but if you read the book, you'll know what I mean. I think she's quite naive in saying some of the things that she does, essentially. But the good thing is, obviously there's usually a conflict in these type of stories, and I can understand both sides, and I really dislike in a book where you're just like, well, that person is clearly right. Whereas this, I do think there's a bit of a moral grey area, so you could understand it from both points of view. Like, Anna has one point of view, Liam has another point of view, and they're both together, can't agree, or their hands are tied in their thinking. Anyway, but I liked that in the sense that it's not a clear cut, well, that's clearly the right answer, why are you even having an argument about that? So I do like that about the story. Yeah, I mean, it was just an enjoyable read. I really liked it. I would definitely read from the author again. This is the first book of, well, the authors, I should say, because obviously it's a combined two authors, Christina, Lauren. I apologise, I don't know their actual names. I'll try maybe put it on the video, but I do know it's two authors who write together, and they've written quite a few books. I have a few other of their books that I have on my bookshelf that I haven't read yet. This is my first one I've read of theirs. So I did like it. I would definitely read from them again. I'd give the rating a 4, which is obviously a really good rating. It just wasn't quite, sounds bad saying it, it wasn't quite special enough to be a 5. It was, I wouldn't say, it's not something I haven't kind of read before. Obviously we've had the rich person and the poor person, and the poor person has to pretend to be the rich family. We've had that before, so it's not like it's and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, you know, otherwise we'd never have any books, or we'd never have movies that weren't similar in another way. But I just think, like, when you're doing something that has been done before, to make it stand out, you've got to have something quite, you know, special to make someone go, oh, have you read this book? It, you know, it's really good, there's this in it. I would just say it's a really nice read, really enjoyed it. I don't think you would regret picking it up, and yeah, so that's my rating of the book. I do have quite a few quotes that I will read to you, because it's quite a quotable book as well. Okay, so the first one: I haven't quite wrapped my head around how this will work, how this messy, stoned, unemployed wreck of a woman will fit into the glossy stories I've carefully manicured over the past several years, but here I am, I'm committed. See what I mean? That's how she's described. So I know it's obviously trying to jazz her up to meet his family, but yeah, I kind of feel like that bit is glossed over a bit, and they could have done a bit more to make it more comical in the book, because I think with this kind of trope you've got to do that, because that's what makes it interesting. I kind of feel like that part was not explored as much as I think they should have done. I think, like, her being such a ladette and not quite what the family might expect him to be married to, I think they could have played that up a little bit more. A couple of quotes that I just think are funny. So, Houston, we have a problematic man. If I had to choose between this shower and a date with Harry Styles, I would choose Harry Styles, but I'd hesitate. This is the best shower in my entire life. Let me tell you something about rich people. They can be on a tropical island, smack dab in literal paradise, where nothing more is needed but a few tables and some chairs, and they will still find a way to spend money. When you can afford anything, nothing is interesting anymore, and there's something really depressing about that. Yeah, so there's, like I said, it's quite a quotable book. I like quite a few lines in there, but I could obviously go on forever, and it kind of ruins the book, I think, if you quote too many parts of the book. Yeah, so basically a wrap up, I would rate it 4 stars, really enjoyable read, but I just feel like obviously with a few tweaks it could have been a lot better from my point of view. I think you'll enjoy it if you pick up the book, and I would recommend that you read it. Okay, I haven't got any I haven't got any further with reading You Are Here, so I plan to try and get further with that, and hopefully soon be able to give you an update.
Read a bit more of You Are Here by David Nichols. I haven't got too far into it, only a few chapters, and I think I've been introduced to what I assume are the two main characters, and yeah, I'm just going to read for a bit more. Oh, the only thing I would say, which I'm not overly keen on, is because it has different points of view, just the two so far that I'm aware of, it doesn't tell you whose point of view it is from, like at the start of the chapter. It's just obviously got like a title for the chapter, and it says she has become addicted, so you assume it's Marnie, which is the female character. But yeah, normally obviously books kind of say Marnie at the top, so you know straight away who the chapter's about. That's the only thing I'm not keen on, because obviously you can start reading it thinking it's from the other person's point of view. But yeah, like I said, it's early days, so I'm just going to carry on reading. Alright. I'm going to have to quote you this, because I agree with this. She had become addicted to the buzz of the cancelled plan. It was a small and fleeting high, and no one would ever look back fondly at all the times they'd managed to get out of something. But for the moment, no words were sweeter to Marnie than, "I'm sorry, I can't make it." It was like being let off an exam that she expected to fail. I understand that. As someone who's more introverted than anything else, and I'm quite homebody too, so, you know, obviously sometimes you are really looking forward to going out, but other times, if plans are cancelled, you're like, good, I didn't want to do it anyway, so I just thought that was really funny. I've just remembered, I don't think I've shown you the inside of the book. Hopefully you can see that. It's obviously like an ordnance survey map, so like the geographical features of, I assume, where they go walking. I don't know if these are real places. Oh, I'm not even in the shop. Yeah, I don't even know if they're real places. Maybe I should look that up. But also there is if I can find it. The coast to coast walk. So I imagine this is going to feature in the book at some point of a walk they go on, perhaps. But it's funny, before I started reading for YouTube, BookTube, whatever you want to call it, I don't remember buying a hardback book for a really long time, because obviously the cost of living, etc., you don't have all this money to splash around, and obviously there's a difference between the prices of hardbacks and paperbacks, and like I said, most of the time I get mine from charity shops. That's not to say I don't buy new ones, I do buy new ones, but it's more rare and in between if I really want a book. Obviously that was before starting YouTube about it. But I've just noticed, like I said, The Life Impossible in this same video, that has a beautiful map on the inside of the book as well, of Ibiza. This has obviously what I've just shown you, the walking, the geographical ordnance survey. Don't know if there's something at the back. But I don't remember whether they had these before or whether it's a new thing. like I said, I haven't bought a hardback copy really for a very long time, and I love it. And if I had the space, I would keep a lot more books, but I just don't have the space because I have over 500 books if you include the ones on my Kindle, and I just don't have the space for that in our house, unfortunately. Otherwise I would keep, you know, all the books that had lovely covers, particularly like, I don't think I'll keep the Such Charming Liars book, but it's got sprayed pink edges and it's lovely kind of pink writing on the title. So yeah, I do like the interesting and beautiful sometimes on the hardback copies of the book. So it's yeah, I like to see that. It's nice. Okay, now seems like a good stopping point because I've got to part 2, the lakes. So I'll just do a brief what I think of kind of like the start of the book. So you have Marnie, who is the female lead, and you have a man who I've forgotten his name already. Michael. So you've got Marnie and Michael, there you go. Now you've got Marnie, who over time, as life does, has kind of you know, lost friends, and she got married, got divorced. You lose friends along the way in your life. Just obviously that's pretty standard, and she's just found all of a sudden she's on her own. She doesn't feel like she's got any friends, and she's quite lonely with it. Whereas you've got Michael, who has also, I think, either got divorced or he's separated from his once partner. He actually likes being alone. He doesn't feel lonely. He's one of those people who is happy with his own company, and but they both have a mutual friend called Cleo, who has basically badgered them into coming on what I guess is like a walking holiday from the sounds of it. Michael, that is Michael's thing, but he prefers to go alone. So he's not overly keen on going because he prefers, like I said, solitude when he goes. And I don't think that's Marnie's like hobby or anything like that. I just think because Cleo's her friend, she's kind of encouraged her to come, and because Marnie is feeling very lonely, she's agreed to go. And that's basically as far as we've got into it. The chapters aren't long, which I'm fine with. I'm quite happy with that. The only thing I would say, not about this book, I'd like to point out, I don't like it when chapters are too short all the time, because it just then feels really shallow and you don't really learn much about... you don't get anywhere faster, and I found that a lot with All the Colours of the Dark when I was reading that. There were 263 chapters, I think, which is just ridiculous. It was a very long book, but they were all relatively short chapters, and you could have, I won't go into that book itself, but obviously you could have had more chapters that had more depth to it, but obviously got to the point quicker. That's a bit of me going off on a tangent. These chapters are long enough that it gives you the information, and that was kind of my point. Some books don't do it right. This does it right. It's still giving you the information, but it's not overly long chapters, so you still feel like it's going at a good pace. Saying that, I'm at part 2 already, but there hasn't been much more to what I've just told you. It's quite a short part, what I've read so far. I am enjoying it. I've liked all of David Nicholls' books that I've read, which I think I've said already. I'd say it's a contemporary fiction book, as I think you would classify the rest of his books that I've read. and it's kind of like a real life book, if that makes sense. It's like, it's not fantasy, it's not far-fetched, it's like a real person's life, and that is what I think he writes about so well, is this could be me, this could be you. I do think it's very common these days that people are lonely in, you know, the world, because it's not like how it used to be, where I think, well, you could blame it on anything, can't you? Social media, and longer working hours, blah, blah, blah. There's so many different reasons that these days we are quite isolated. And I think, obviously, this is going to be the point of the book. They, two kind of lonely or solitude-ish people meet like-minded people and, you know, have minimum of friendship, possible romance. I don't know whether that's the direction it's going to go, but I do think it's quite relevant in this day and age about this book, and I wouldn't be surprised if obviously that's the idea of the book. So yeah, I'm going to carry on reading. Hi everyone, I finally managed to get around to finishing off You Are Here by David Nichols. It took me a long time to read, not because of the book, but obviously due to real life. Yeah, finally finished it, and this is my final review of what I thought about the book. It sounds funny because I know what I'm going to say is going to make it sound like I didn't like the book. I did like the book. However, I do think a lot of people would not like this book. I think a lot of people would find it's quite slow paced. Not much happens. It is literally just about people going on a walk over about the space of a week, pretty much. And you know, it's more kind of real life, slice of life. What happens in the day-to-day. There's no like major plot twists. It is what it is. It's if you yourself was to go for a walk with people you don't know, and that's exactly what it feels like. So to me, that is good writing. I really like David's writing, but to me, yeah, it didn't have the appeal of his previous books that I've read. It is a bit it is a bit slow. Not much happens. There's not what I would call a sweeping romance. It's more, again, I don't want to say it again, but it's more what would happen in real life. These are how, you know, some romances happen. It's more of a gentle kind of get to know each other. So yeah. I would like to point out I did like the book. I know it, like I said at the start, I feel like what I've said about it sounds like I don't like the book. I do like the book. The writing's really good. It's just I do also think a lot of people won't like the book because of the way it's written, and like I said, that there's no big, bold, major plot twists or anything like that. It's kind of just like a slice of life, like if you went for a walk with someone you didn't know, essentially. I thought it was really nice. Yet it no longer seemed so important merely to fill the photo frame. The question she needed to ask, is this someone I would turn to in a crisis? Someone whose memory or image I might summon up when they're not around? Someone I need? If they came to visit me on my deathbed, would I be pleased, or would I think, what are you doing here? It was a ghoulish criterion to apply on a casual date, but this perfectly nice man didn't qualify, any more than she'd pass a deathbed test for him. One or two more people, that was all she really needed. One or two she could love. And I think that's really true. You know, you can have loads of people in your life, but at the end of the day, you only need those people who genuinely care about, and
who genuinely care about you and you genuinely care about them to be with you, who will be by your side. And I just thought that was a really nice quote. So yeah, overall I would give this book a 3.5. Again, I'm going to say, if you're expecting a big kind of sweeping romance, a major plot twist here, there, everywhere in the chapters, you will not get that with this book. What you will get is really nice writing, real characters. They feel like real characters, and you know, the stuff that does actually happen in the book I think is incredibly realistic. So that is what you will get with this book, You Are Here by David Nicholls. Hi everyone, so this is just a wrap up of the books that I have read in this video, plus 2 others on the Kindle, which I'll say now before I forget. So I've read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I also read All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. But then I read Richard Osman's We Solve Murders to start off with. I probably should have done this the other way around. The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. Such Charming Liars by Karen M. McManus. Date with Destiny by Lucy Vine. The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. And David Nicholls' You Are Here. Yeah, that's my wrap up of the books that I have read for this video. There was 8 altogether, including, like I said, the 2 I read on the Kindle. And I plan to do another video of releases in 24. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll stick around for the next one. Alright, thanks guys, bye.